What is up, Nuggets Nation? It is Aiden here, of course, a Denver Nuggets fan. As I said, sup Nuggets Nation, I'm going to be posting this in the Facebook group. Don't really know how many of you are actually going to watch this, just because this video is probably going to be in and around the 30-minute, half an hour mark. So yeah, don't really know if you guys are going to stick around to watch the entire video, but hopefully I can talk and do some things that will kind of, keep you interested in this video. So basically, originally I actually had it, I had me talking about how the Denver Nuggets went last season, all their plays and stuff like that, and future prospects. And then I talked about the draft as well, and I connected it all together. But the video ended up going for like an hour, so just a bit long. So instead, what I'm going to do this time I'm going to, leave the draft stuff for another video, which I probably will make and post on this Facebook group. And instead, I'm just going to talk about how the Denver Nuggets went this season, future prospects and stuff like that, in just this video, and hopefully keep it under half an hour, but we'll see how we go. Before we go any further, of course, I'll have to give some background on who I am, why I go for the Denver Nuggets, how I started going for them, and all that stuff. So if you can't tell by the accent, and no, I'm not British, I'm not from England, so shut the fuck up, just kidding, but I'm not British, okay? I'm actually Australian. I'm an Australian Denver Nuggets fan from Melbourne, Australia. I actually started going for the Nuggets before, because I just want to reiterate this, before the 2012-2013 season, because I know that was the 57-win season when we got the third in the West and we got owned by the Warriors in the first round, even though they were like the 6th seed in the playoffs. So yeah, I became a fan before that season, and of course the season happened. It was great, and I fell in love with the Denver Nuggets from that point on. And I guess you can't really call me a bandwagoner, because even though we were great in that season, the seasons after, we've been terrible. We just haven't been a great team. We've just been that mediocre, middle of the road team, not good enough to, win a championship, but not bad enough to, get a high draft pick. We've always just been that in between. But the way that our new GM has, worked things out with getting, these middle first round picks, late picks, and the players that he's got, like the Nikola Jokic, of course, like the best example, Emmanuel Mudiay, who was a lottery pick, but Gary Harris and Yusuf Nurkic, middle first rounders, and then all these other players on the cheap contracts, non-guaranteed contracts, and all that. The things he's done with this roster, I've really been impressed with. So yeah, guess you can't really call me a bandwagoner, because I've continued to go for the Denver Nuggets, and I'll never switch out on them. I love my Denver Nuggets so much. Let's go straight into talking about how the last season for the Denver Nuggets went. So obviously the Pepsi Center was dead, okay? Because it's just realistically thinking, when a team is going bad and it just doesn't seem like there's any hope, there's no superstar, there's no real draw-in player to kind of bring fans back into the stands. It's just like, why would you turn up? I mean, for me and other people in the Denver Nuggets fan base, it's a different thing. But for the masses, the Golden State Warriors are kind of an extreme example, just because and people call a lot of Golden State Warriors fans bandwagons, but you have to realize the Oracle Arena was selling out hardcore well before Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Draymond Green and all these players. They were selling out before all that shit. And it's funny, just quickly before I go any further, I remember the video that the NBA posted at the time. Monte Ellis got traded, and everyone in the Oracle Arena was booing Chris Mullins, all the the executives and all the Golden State higher ups, and they were saying, "Fuck you, why'd you trade Monte? You traded Monte for fucking Andrew Bogut, and give Steph Curry more of an opportunity. Fuck this Steph Curry guy." At the time, he was injury prone. I think they just signed him to a 4-year, $44 million contract, which he's just about to come off, by the way, and he's gonna get fucking paid like a motherfucker, obviously. But I remember at the time when fucking Monte Ellis got traded, everyone was booing them and shit, but look how it worked out. But like I said before, what I was talking about, Oracle Arena was selling out way before, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and the crew were there. But it's kind of different for the Denver Nuggets, okay? Because the Denver Nuggets the fan base is not, I don't want to pot any Denver Nuggets fans, but the Denver Nuggets fan base is not one of those that you really expect to truly stick around when the team is going through a rebuilding phase. And obviously they'll come back when we start winning again. I mean, look at the 57-win season. There were so many Denver Nuggets fans in the Pepsi Center. But now there isn't. Why? Because we're in a rebuilding phase. There's not much optimism around. So obviously people aren't going to turn up. So the Pepsi Center was pretty much like a fucking graveyard last year. But overall, from what I saw, I really feel like the last season for the Denver Nuggets was a great step forward, because the emergence of a couple of players really surprised me. I mean, obviously, like, the main one by an absolute avalanche, Nikola Jokic. I mean, no one, even me, like, no one. I mean, maybe like some Serbian people will tell you, yeah, we totally expect it. And probably did, because you guys probably knew more about this guy than us, outsiders. But this dude, like, hardly anyone expected Nikola Jokic to be, like, play the way he did this season. I mean, he came like third in the Rookie of the Year. Coming into the league, one of the biggest criticisms of him was his lack of athleticism, and that still stands. He's just not super athletic. He doesn't have great lateral quickness. He's not super athletic. He's not like super strong. He's not quick. He's not a super athlete, okay? Which in today's NBA, athleticism is kind of something you need, and it's just something that he lacks. But at the same time, he just makes up for it with so many other things that he can do. He's a great shooter, which, if he's going to play at the 4, I don't really know if we're going to, play. I don't really know if I'm going to personally be happy with him playing at the 4 long term, just because defensively he is sometimes going to be a liability, just because his lack of athleticism. But at the 4, if he's going to play that position, being able to be a great shooter, especially with shooting being highly valued in today's NBA, is vital. So it's great that he is a great shooter. Of course, it's been well documented, an elite passer, has very high IQ. So many passes I saw this season, I was like, God damn, did not expect that. But yeah, just his IQ, like, even though, like I said, he does kind of lack that athleticism, overall athleticism, in order to compete with the more athletic guys, the more athletic 4s and 5s. I think on defense, like, there was quite a few occasions this season where I saw him, take the ball off someone, and they were like way more athletic than him. But just because he had the IQ, he had the defensive prowess, I guess you can say, to kind of read the play and steal the ball off the player. I just think he has really good defensive IQ, really good, obviously, offensive IQ, just great IQ in general, and just all these other things that Nikola Jokic does. It makes me so optimistic. And like I said, I mean, the 41st pick, I think it was, in like the 2014 draft or whatever, what a fucking bargain, man. Like, that shit is crazy. Nikola Jokic, super fucking excited for this guy. I don't know what his ceiling is, and it's just like, I think there's only very few players in the league that are kind of like an unknown entity, I guess you can say. Like, what can they become? Like, for me, Nikola Jokic is still kind of in the unknown. Like, what will he truly become? Giannis Antetokounmpo, this dude can play like 5 fucking positions. Like, what is this dude gonna become, man? Like, you just don't know. Like, they could become anything. Like, to me personally, if I'm just gonna make a wild guess, stab in the dark, I reckon his ceiling is slightly worse than like a Marc Gasol, because you have to realize how good Marc Gasol, like, he still is kind of in his prime a little bit, I guess. He's still playing really good regardless. So Marc Gasol, like, last year made the first team, which is a huge achievement. Even to make a third team, that is a massive achievement, especially with how many, great players there are in this league. For Marc Gasol to make the first team, holy fucking shit. So if Jokic was even to make like any NBA team, like all NBA team, which in his prime, I could see him possibly making, like, I think he'll probably will make like a third team, like 1 or 2 third teams in his prime. I don't think he'll be quite as good as Marc Gasol, but kind of in and around. So more so like a poor man's Marc Gasol. I think even though the Gasol brothers are really good passers, and that's just another underrated part of their games besides all the other things that they do, I think Jokic will end up being a better passer than both of them. I think he already is a better passer than both of the Gasol brothers, and they're both really good passers, by the way. Jokic, this dude is the fucking truth. I don't know if he can become a superstar, like the guy you can rely on in the 4th quarter to make like the game-winning shot or whatever. I think that's reserved for another player that hopefully will come to the Denver Nuggets in the not too distant future. I don't think Moutier is a superstar either. Just want to put it out there. Don't want to shit on anyone who thinks he is, but I just don't think he is. Yeah, Jokic is a beast. Bargain, 41st pick. Crazy. This dude is fucking amazing. Do not trade him under any... Unless we're getting like DeMarcus Cousins or some shit, then maybe you can kind of ship him off, but for anything else, keep Nikola Jokic. Next player I'm going to talk about is Gary Harris. Now, this guy, it's kind of similar with Emmanuel Moutier, and people probably give me shit for saying this about both these players, but if we keep Gary Harris, I'm perfectly fine with that. If he is truly our shooting guard of the future, I'm fine with that, because Gary Harris is a great two-way player. And it's funny because I remember in the 2014 draft, and it's just the same shit every single year, and it's going to happen again this year, and I see so many people in this group say it, and if he ends up being a great player, that's fine, but I don't think Buddy Hield is the truth. I don't think he's going to be a superstar, because there's people have to realize, and it's just happened over and over again, and people keep falling for the same shit every single year. I mean, Adam Morrison, Jimmy Fredette, Buddy Hield, fucking Doug McDermott, who I'm about to talk about, they keep falling for these players and think they're going to be a superstar. But you have to realize that there's a massive, there is a huge difference between fucking, like, there has been so many high school players, like, recently that everyone thought they were going to be, like, a superstar in the NBA, but they haven't even been great in college. And then once you have to be good in college, you have to translate that to the NBA. Huge difference, man. And, like, these guys, like Doug McDermott, like Jimmy Fredette, Adam Morrison, like, they haven't, I mean, Adam Morrison, I can't really say too much for, but, like, Jimmy Fredette and Doug McDermott, who I personally witnessed play, you know, they haven't exactly turned out to be superstars. And I don't think Buddy Hield will either. I don't think he's going to be a superstar. And, but yeah, like I was saying before, Doug McDermott, when we drafted him with the 11th pick in the 2014 draft, and we ended up trading him for picks 16 and 19, which ended up being, you know, Yusuf Nurkic and Gary Harris, people were fucking going crazy, like, fuck this shit, Doug McDermott is the truth, this dude is a fucking superstar, like, why did we trade him? And I'm like, shut the fuck up. Like, that's the only way I could put it. Like, this is the same shit. I'm sick of this shit. I'm sick of people, like, and I had this conversation with my sister, who is also a big NBA fan. And she keeps, like, I mean, she only says it because she's trying to piss me off or whatever, but to me, Buddy Hield is not the truth. He's not going to be a superstar. He's not, like, he's got pretty good length for a shooting guard, I will admit that. He's got, like, a 6'8" wingspan. A little bit undersized, though, 6'4". He's a great shooter, obviously. That would be a huge plus to the Denver Nuggets. You can't deny that. So if he ends up coming to the Nuggets and he adds that shooting aspect, that would be great. But everything else, like, he doesn't have, like, I think his ball handling skills is okay. Like I said, he's been improving, but it's just mediocre. You know, what's it called? His crossovers and just the way he plays on offense besides his shooting. It just doesn't scream to me like superstar or whatever. And I can see why people are comparing, oh, yo, he's going to be like the next Steph Curry or whatever, but I don't see it. And look, Steph Curry, when he first got drafted, you could, like, the flaws that he had at the time, a lot of them still kind of stand, you know, to this day. He does rely on his shooting a lot, even though he has improved his ball handling a lot. You know, he was kind of that skinny kid, the guy who could only shoot or whatever. And there was a lot of flaws that, you know, at the time were pretty spot on, but he ended up improving. And he spent like 4 years in college, I think it was, at Davidson. So has Buddy Hield. So I can see where the Steph Curry, the Buddy Hield comparisons come from, but I don't see it with Buddy Hield. I just don't see it. So that's all I'm saying. But I'm going back to Gary Harris. Like I said, when we drafted Doug McDermott, you know, people were like going fucking crazy because we traded him for Nurkic and Harris. But then, because I'd seen a lot of Gary Harris at Michigan State, and I liked him a lot. And so when, I remember everyone was like screaming fucking steal, like outside of the Denver Nuggets fan base, because everyone was like jizzing over, you know, Doug McDermott or whatever. But yeah, when I saw it at the time, like people outside of the Denver Nuggets fan base, including myself, were like, holy fucking shit, Gary Harris at 19, that is a steal, because Gary Harris is a great player. I don't know if his ceiling is like super duper high, but he's a great two-way player. Like the best way I can describe or compare him to a current or past NBA player would probably be like Andre Iguodala, to be honest. Like a poor man's Andre Iguodala. Like great two-way players, like I said, can play great on offense and defense. Both great passes. I wouldn't say Gary Harris is on the level of Andre Iguodala in regards to the passing. Shooting, I don't know why, but the shooting seems kind of similar. The way they play on offense, their slashing ability, it's just very similar. So to me, Gary Harris is kind of like a poor man's Andre Iguodala. I mean, he's like 6'4", Iguodala's like 6'7". Like I said, Iguodala's a better passer, and all these other things. Like I said, great two-way player, and he just seems like a poor man's Andre Iguodala to me. That's what Gary Harris is to me personally. If we keep Gary Harris, he's the shooting guard of our future team. I'm cool with that. But if we can get someone better, if we're going to keep the draft pick, even though I'm more so on the side of actually trading the pick and trying to move up to the top 2 pick and getting a Simmons or Ingram, or trading for a superstar, whatever, with those picks that we currently have in the first round. If we keep that pick, I would not mind if we would draft like a Timothy Luwawu, who I'm really fucking high on. I mean, his intangibles are crazy. Especially I know he's probably more suited to play at small forward, but if we put Luwawu, who has the intangibles 6'7", 7'2" wingspan, are you fucking crazy? At small forward, I mean, not small forward. If he plays a small forward, that's cool, but I'd rather him play at, small, what's it called, shooting guard, because you're going to have that height with Moutier, 6'5", tall for a point guard, and then Luwawu, 6'7", 7'2" wingspan. That would be great. Of course, the defensive potential. Apparently, especially from what I've seen from his highlights, he looks like a great shooter. Apparently, he's improved a lot. if we could get him at 7, or if he's there at 15, if we keep the picks, which I don't know if we will, but if we do end up keeping the picks, I like for us to draft Luwawu or even Jaylen Brown and put him at shooting guard, because to me they have higher ceilings than Gary Harris. I mean, Gary Harris, like I said, he's a great two-way player, but I don't know, like in his prime, I probably see him, averaging like 18, 19 points a game, and it's just like, but then when you put him up against like the premier, like shooting guards in the league, like, I mean, it's kind of different, because like you have to realize we're in a rebuilding phase right now, and then maybe like in a couple of years, like, I mean, Jimmy Butler, really good shooting guards, Klay Thompson, and these guys, and all the good, James Harden. In 3 or 4 years' time, when Gary Harris is going to be hitting their prime, a lot of these guys are going to be exiting their prime, so they're probably not going to be as good. So maybe, a couple years down the track, he will be able to guard the premier shooting guards in the league. But right now, as it stands, I don't really know if I see it, man, because I just feel like, even though, like I said, if we keep him, I'm fine, but I just feel like there's a ceiling to his ability. So if we keep him, I'm cool with that, like I said. But if we can get a better player, like in my opinion, like a Jaylen Brown, who I don't know about, because his shooting is a bit iffy, and I don't really know sometimes with his awareness. And I saw him play a little bit at Cal, but I don't really know. But then Luwawu, there's more, to me, there's more ceiling with those guys than a Gary Harris. But if we keep Gary, I'm cool with that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm perfectly fine with that. Great two-way player, very improved shooter. I love the way he improved his shooting this season, especially since he came off like garbage time and he just never got to fucking play under Brian Shaw. Thankfully, Brian Shaw is gone. Really like Gary. If he stays with the Denver Nuggets as the shooting guard of the future, I'm cool with that. So the next player I'm going to talk about is, who am I going to talk about? Let's talk about Jusuf Nurkic. Jusuf Nurkic is a player who in his first season had so much optimism surrounding him. What did he average in his first? I think he averaged like 6 points and like 8 rebounds or some shit, like 6 points, 6 rebounds. I don't really know, but he played really fucking well in his first season, and everyone was like, dude, this guy's the center of the future. And then the next season, in came Nikola Jokic, who was also a center, and created even more optimism, times 5 from what optimism that Jusuf Nurkic created in his first season. So, yeah, obviously, I mean, if we're all going to take a wild guess, me and you, who do you think is going to be a better player in the future? Probably Jokic, but at the same time, Jusuf Nurkic was pretty good in his first season, like we all said. And in his second season, a lot of his season was marred by injuries. Like, I think he had, I don't know, I forgot what the first one was, but I know the second one was like knee injury or whatever. And it's just like with Jusuf Nurkic, like, I really like the way he plays. If Jokic and Nurkic are to play together, it's a great contrast, because, Jokic is more so like the finesse guy. He can shoot, he's a great passer, the IQ and all that. So you play him at 4, even though he does lack a little bit of lateral quickness. Whatever, you play him at the 4, for example. Then you play Nurkic at the 5, who's completely different. I mean, he's really, I just want to put it out there, he is a super underrated passer, in my opinion. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but like I said, his passing this season and his first season, really underrated. So Nurkic is a really underrated passer to me. So, like I was saying, completely different to Jokic in the sense that, he's the big motherfucker. What's he like, 7 foot, 6'11", 7 foot or whatever, 280. He's the big guy. He's the big bulldozer or whatever. He bullies dudes in the paint. He's a big motherfucker, man. So different to Jokic in that sense, and I like that combo. It's funny because throughout the season, I mean, I don't know how many jump hooks, like, if you watch Nurkic play this season, you've just seen it countless times. Pushes some guy and then he goes for the jump hook and he misses it. Like, I swear to God, I saw like Nurkic take like 50, 60, maybe even 100 jump hooks throughout the season. Took 100, probably made like 10 and missed like 90. Like, I don't know, did anyone notice how many shots he missed this season? Just the usual, he bumps into someone, then he goes to the jump hook and he misses it. Like, he just did that all season. So, but then he actually got it together in one game finally against Detroit, which we won that game, obviously. And he was making his shots. Nurkic is actually also, I've noticed he's improved his shooting a lot. He's a solid shooter. He's not a bad shooter, but he's still improving. I feel as though I'm like Kenneth Faried, who's never gonna fucking learn a jump shot, it seems. So yeah, Nurkic, his shooting has been great. It's getting better. Obviously, he's that big bulldozer, big guy, you know what I mean, that bullies guys in the paint. But the one thing that kind of sticks out to me with Nurkic, and I don't know if we should keep him, if he wasn't injury prone, it would be a completely different story. I'd keep him 100%. But like I said, injury prone. I remember there was an article released recently about Kenyon Martin. Now, the medical staff at the Denver Nuggets, apparently with Kenyon Martin, just wasn't great. Okay, like he had knee issues, like Nurkic right now. And besides Steve Hess is the truth. Like, I go to the gym by myself. I work out pretty fucking hard. I don't need a personal trainer. I don't really need someone motivating me. But if I had Steve Hess motivating me, man, I would accept that shit. This dude is amazing. He's a South African dude. He's hype. He's a good trainer. Like, I love this dude. All right. And what Kenyon Martin said in a podcast or whatever with Adrian Wojnarowski or whatever the fuck his name is, I think it was. I don't even know if it was him, but he said that at the time when he was having knee issues, besides of course Steve Hess, the medical staff at the Nuggets just wasn't that good, and it didn't really help him with his knee issues, and he continued to have knee issues because the Denver Nuggets medical staff wasn't that good. Now, I don't really know if a lot of the medical staff from the Nuggets are still there from back then when Kenyon Martin was, in the organization, if they still remain. If they are, I mean, how trusting can you be with them to kind of keep, Nurkic's knee issues, proper, like keep him, healthy? Like, how much can you trust him, especially if a lot of them are remaining? I don't really know. So with Nurkic, man, great player, he's great prospect for the future, but I don't really know if he can really keep his knee issues under wraps, man. I don't know if he can stay injury free. So if he can stay injury free, probably keep him, but because especially with that Jokic and Nurkic combo, that's a great combo. But if he can't stay injury free, I don't know, man. I don't know with this guy, because especially with knee issues, especially if you don't treat them early and you don't treat them the right way. I'm having knee issues right now, and because I didn't treat it early on, I'm suffering a little bit. Even though I'm on the road to recovery, because I didn't treat it earlier on, it kind of dragged on and it stuck around. So hopefully it's not the same case for Nurkic right now, and hopefully the medical staff at Denver Nuggets has improved vastly and they look after his knees or whatever injury he has. Same thing can be said for other players as well. So yeah, Nurkic, if we keep him, hopefully he's still improving a lot. Just hope he can stay injury free. So the other player I want to talk about is the second last player in the starting lineup, because we already talked about Nikola Jokic, obviously a power forward if we're going to stick him there. Shooting guard Gary Harris. We talked about Nurkic at center. Next player I'm going to talk about is Emmanuel Mudiay, the point guard of the future. Now, kind of like with Gary Harris, if we keep Emmanuel Mudiay and he is truly the point guard of the future, because he showed a lot in his first season, good or bad. A lot of people gave him shit, including I got really frustrated, I'm not going to lie, at his shooting this season, because his mechanics is, like, some players just have great shooting mechanics. Like, I love the way Ray Allen shoots, because the way he shoots is that he gets up to the top of his peak and then he shoots. And for those who don't realize, that is how you're supposed to shoot. You're supposed to get to the top and then release the ball. Whereas like Emmanuel Mudiay, his mechanics is kind of like, and some players do this and it's been successful for them over their careers. But the way Emmanuel Mudiay shoots is that he shoots on the way down. And even though he actually improved vastly with his shooting after the All-Star break. And he, like I said, he improved a lot. But I don't know, man. His mechanics, it's just, the way he shoots on the way down, it's like kind of iffy to me. So yeah, his shooting throughout the season was kind of like but like I said, he actually improved a lot in the second half of the season. So yeah, and obviously he's young, man. Look, the turnovers this season, the shooting, like I said, like those are the two main problems that young point guards in the league come in with, and eventually they correct over time, is shooting, turnovers. Those are the two main things by far. So like I said, I think he's either turning 20 or he's already turned 20 years old. This year in 2016, those are the things that are correctable with the shooting and the turnovers, man. So even though he made a lot of mistakes, I just lost count of the times where, Mudiay has the ball and he does a couple good plays, but then he goes to the baseline and then he jumps up and just looks around and just passes it to he either throws it out of bounds or he throws it to the opposition player, or sometimes, occasionally, he does get it to another Denver Nuggets player and he puts it in the basket. But like I said, these are all correctable mistakes, man. He's young. It's stuff that, like I said, can be corrected over time. But like I said, if we keep Mudiay, I'm cool. But in this upcoming draft, especially if we keep the picks, like I said, I'm not super fond of keeping all the draft picks that we have, because I'd rather move up for a top 2 pick or a superstar like a DeMarcus Cousins, Paul George, or a Jimmy Butler. I'm not like completely sold like a lot of you guys and a lot of other people who follow NBA that are in the firm belief that Jimmy Butler is a superstar. I don't know, okay? I'm kind of still on the fence as to whether or not he's a superstar, but he's still a fucking great player regardless, and it would be great if we could, get him. But yeah, like I said, if we keep Mudiay, I'm cool, but Chris Dunn, this guy from Providence, man, what is he, like 22 years old now? He has kind of those Damian Lillard, what's it called, Russell Westbrook vibes. He's athletic. He's like 6'4", so a little bit shorter of a Moutier, but 6'9" wingspan, athletic. I mean, I saw, dude. I haven't seen raw footage. I haven't seen enough raw footage. I've seen his weaknesses and stuff like that, but when I saw the highlights, man, this dude is athletic as a motherfucker. He's a pretty good passer. He's pretty creative. He can be a little bit too flashy at times and turn the ball over, but once again, turnovers correctable easily over time in the NBA. You can learn. And I'd rather draft like a Luwawu or a Brown, but this dude, man, Chris Dunn, this dude's the truth. I'm telling you, wherever he goes, whether it be like the Kings, the Pelicans, the Wolves, or whatever, this dude's gonna be a good player, man. So like, even though we have Moutier, and if like Luwawu or Brown are already taken, and we just want to like pick a player, I think we should get Dunn, man. Like, I love this dude. Like, Chris Dunn is going to be a fucking good player. So I'm happy with Moutier for now. And I really enjoyed it because he made a lot of progress in his first season in the NBA. And I really enjoyed what I saw from Moutier this season, good and bad. So yeah, so that's 4 of the players in the starting lineup, and the final one, even though he's injured right now, which is something that's happened so often with him. Like when he's not injured, he's a really good player. When he's injured, he can't play, so we can't do jack shit. So, like, why do you keep him, man? And I'm going to go into it soon, but the last player in the starting lineup when he's not injured and he's playing is Danilo Gallinari. Now, I said this, and I'm so glad I saw this post in the Nuggets Nation Facebook group this morning. And it was from the guy who posts pretty frequently. I forgot his name. It's Kyle Felger or something. I don't really know. You know who you are. Now, I don't want to put this guy on blast. I really don't. But I remember when this dude was saying, bottom line, he was getting pretty impatient about the Denver Nuggets early in the season. Michael Malone should have been fired. He was saying and shit like that. I don't want to put you on blast, Kyle, but that's what you were saying. I remember that clearly. You were saying Michael Malone sucks. Certain players should have been traded and stuff. But then, and I hope so many other, and I like the direction that he took. Kyle now understands. Like I said, he understands the process. Like, he understands that, teams and coaches and schemes and whatever, they need time. You know what I mean? And we're in a rebuilding phase right now, and it's going to take time to build things. That's why it's called a rebuilding phase. It takes time, you know what I mean? And one of the best things that he said, he made in this post, was that we should trade Danilo Gallinari and Wilson Chandler. Now, I'll talk about Wilson Chandler a little bit later, but Danilo Gallinari. A lot of you have to realize, like I just said, we're in a rebuilding phase. Our starting lineup, all our players are under the age of 23, so they're young. They are young players, and they still have improvement to come. The only one over the age of 26 is Danilo Gallinari. He's currently 27, turning 28 next year. Is it next year or this year? I don't really know, but turning 28 at some point or another, this year or next year. He's getting older. He's in his prime years right now. Danilo Gallinari, when he's in his prime years, he's not going to get any better. That's why it's called his prime years. So it's just, when I'm thinking about it, if we're in a rebuilding phase, and let's say, for example, the Denver Nuggets, their players like the Jokic and Moutier, they're going to hit their prime, let's say, 3 or 4 years. In 3 or 4 years, Jokic and Moutier are going to be 25, prime years. In 3 years, Gallinari is going to be like 30 years old. I'll put this to you guys. Maybe he will. But do you truly believe 100% that when Gallinari is 30, 31, early 30s, whatever, he's going to be producing numbers? He's going to be producing the same numbers that he did in January this year, where you guys were calling him like superstar and shit. He's going to be the leader. He was worth it for the Melo trade. Gallinari's been good. But at the same time, in January, when he was playing like a supposed superstar, like a lot of you guys were claiming, I was saying trade this motherfucker because he's injury prone. He's playing really great right now. He's very coveted around the league. People want this guy. Like, people want this guy bad. So trade him. Like I said, he's probably going to get injured, and he didn't get injured eventually this season anyway. Gallinari just can't stay injury free. So at the time in January, I said trade him. And like I said, Gallinari's 27 years old. When Jokic, Moutier, Harris, Nurkic, when they are in 3 years' time, when they're 24, 25, 26 years old, are they going to be, they're going to be in their prime? Gallinari's not. He's not going to get any better from now until then. He's going to get worse, in my opinion. And what makes it even worse is that he's injury prone. And what makes it great for us is the fact that even though he's in 3 years, right now he's in his prime years, he should be on a contender, to be honest. In 3 years, I mean, right now he's 27 years old. In 3 years, he's going to be 30. He's injury prone. He has value. He's coveted around the league. Why would you keep him if we're in a rebuilding phase? And and Gallinari's not a superstar, and we lack a superstar. And in this upcoming draft, 2 superstar small forwards are on a silver platter if we're able to trade up and get these two players, Ingram and Simmons, both small forwards, or on the free agent market. Jimmy Butler, who, like I said, not completely sold, but better than Danilo Gallinari. So Jimmy Butler, Paul George. Why would you keep Gallon? And these guys are all younger than Gallinari. Well, I think Butler's about the same age, but regardless, they're all better either better or going to be better than Gallinari. So why would you keep Gallinari when he's going to be in 3 years when these other guys in our starting lineup are going to hit their prime? Gallinari's injury prone. He has value. Trade him. Ship him out. The same thing can be said for Wilson Chandler. Injury prone. Just came off last year, season-ending hip surgery. You know, he's coming back. Turning 30 next year. I think it's 29. I think he's turning 30 next year. Either way, he's getting older, man. He's not going to get any better. And he's somewhat injury prone. So, and he still has value, just like Gallinari. So why would you keep him? You know, like trade him. You know what I mean? And it's just like, I'm just sick of it. Like, I'm honestly just over it how people just keep believing in Gallo. And I love Gallo. And it's hard for me to say we should trade Danilo Gallinari, but you have to realize he doesn't fit into this rebuilding phase that the Denver Nuggets are currently in, and he's injury prone. And you guys are expecting him to put up numbers every single night. You expect him to be the guy, but to me, he's not. He's injury prone. He has value. Ship him out to another team that wants him. You know what I mean? So that's my feelings about Gallo. Obviously, one of the things that he's best at is shooting. I mean, he's 6'10", which is like he's a small forward, 6'10", and he's pretty agile and he draws fouls. Great player, but just doesn't fit into the scheme that the Denver Nuggets are in right now. So yeah, Gallo, great player, but has value, injury prone. Trade him to a team that wants him and get good value in return. So yeah, that's it with my thoughts on the Denver Nuggets last season, how we went. I think there's a lot of improvement to come, and that's the thing that, you know, makes me optimistic the most, is the fact that most of our starting lineup are under the age of 23. There's so much improvement to come. It's just getting together, gelling together as a team, more improvement. I'm so fucking excited. So yeah. But Gallinari needs to go. Just point blank period. You guys got to stop believing in him. He's not a superstar, never will be. He needs to go. I love Gallo, but it's time, man. Like this is the perfect time to trade him, because what if he gets like another serious injury? His value will just plummet. I just want to reiterate one more time. The fact that Gallinari is injury prone as a motherfucker, and when he comes back from injury, he's probably going to get injured again, and he still has mad value on the trade market. Hella NBA teams want him, so why not trade him? You know what I mean? So yeah, that's how I feel about Denver Nuggets. Really looking forward to the future. Can't fucking wait to see where this Denver Nuggets team, winds up. We absolutely need a superstar though. This is the last thing I'm going to talk about. The one thing that this Denver Nuggets team lacks, and the thing they've seriously lacked since Carmelo Anthony left and went to New York, is a superstar. This Denver Nuggets team is not winning a championship. I don't care what anyone fucking says, unless we get a superstar. This current team, if we add let's say a Timothy Luwawu, who I don't think is going to be like a superstar, and put him at small forward, ain't winning shit. We're not going to win a championship. Stop being, optimistic. We ain't winning shit with that team, okay? We need a superstar. We need a Simmons or an Ingram. Okay, we need, a Paul George, a Jimmy Butler. Or even like a DeMarcus Cousins if we manage to get him into the Denver Nuggets. We need one of those players. These guys are superstars. We don't, you got to stop, as much as sometimes it does annoy me when people say, we should get Durant, even though, what the fuck would Durant come? This is to be real. Who the fuck wants to come to Denver, Colorado, okay? No one wants to fucking come. Be realistic. Durant ain't coming to Denver. Point blank period. Kevin Love's not coming to Denver. Jimmy Butler, if we offer the right players and stuff like that and you trade him, you probably will come to Denver. You know what I mean? But most of these players, the Denver Nuggets is not a prime destination for, free agents. So no one wants to come. So the way we have to build this team mainly is either through players who want to come here or the draft, like Ingram or Simmons. That's why I'm saying I've been so, insistent on, trading up to get a top 2 pick, whether it be Ingram or Simmons, even though I much prefer Simmons because his ceiling is far superior to Ingram in my opinion. We need a superstar, and we're not going to go anywhere unless we get one. So it's either superstar or bust, meaning superstar or we ain't winning shit. We're not winning a championship, point blank period. Not a fact, just my opinion. So yeah, that's pretty much it with the team. The starting lineup. I'll quickly talk about the bench players. I know a lot of people give him shit. A lot of people give him hella shit, and I still think he's better than Fareed. Way better prospect than Fareed. And he's 3-4 years younger. So Joffrey Laverne is a player who I think, like I said, gets a bit too much hate. And I can understand to a certain extent, just because whenever he got an opportunity, he was in the starting lineup a couple of times and he didn't exactly succeed. And other times when he got the opportunity, he just didn't, he wasn't at his best. But I don't know, like, if we traded Nurkic, I could seriously see, Jokic going back to the 5 and then putting Laverne at the 4, because he's pretty agile. Like, he can shoot. Like, if you didn't already notice this season, he can actually shoot pretty darn well. He's improved a lot. He's actually pretty agile. So defensively, he can be pretty good. But yeah, I can seriously see him starting at the 4 on the Denver Nuggets team. But if he's stuck on the bench, I'm cool with that. As long as he's given, I truly believe that Fareed should be shipped out, and I'll talk about that soon. Like, I'm just over Fareed. I'm sorry, guys. But Laverne, if he gets 20 minutes a game, like 15, 20 minutes a game, and comes off the bench, I would be cool with that. I would be perfectly fine with that role for Laverne. So yeah, I really like Joffrey Laverne. I think he gets so much shit, but I like what he did this season. His shooting, his agility, his defense. Like, I love it when he plays the 4. I think that's kind of his spot. Even though naturally he's probably a 5. If he played at 4, I would be happy with that, coming off the bench especially. So the next player I want to talk about, DJ Augustine. I don't really have much to say, even though obviously he was a huge revelation this season. The reason I'm not going to talk about him too much is just because he's like 95%, or probably like an 80% chance, unless they re-sign him, he's going to go somewhere else. I mean, he might as well. I mean, he's like 28, 29 years old now. He's getting older. Might as well chase that new contract. I mean, fucking Rodney Stuckey, who, in my opinion, Augustine is a far superior player, in my opinion, to Rodney Stuckey. He just got like a 3-year, $21 million contract. Patty Mills got like the same contract, 3 years, $21 mil. And backups are getting paid right now. And with the cap increasing, get that money, man. Chase that money. So I can't blame Augustine for getting that money. And yeah, he was great this season, obviously, but I don't think he's staying. He's probably going to get paid somewhere, so that's fine. But yeah, I loved Augustine this season, but like I said, he's probably going to go elsewhere. So Jakar Sampson, kind of just like a fill-in player. He's not really. He's a small forward. He's kind of like a tweeter. It's kind of like it's funny because the way he plays and the way he shoots a lot like Draymond Green. Obviously not the player. Not even on the level of Draymond Green, but Jakar Sampson, not really a shooting guard, not really a small forward to me, more so a power forward, very athletic. He's pretty long, but he's like 7-foot wingspan. So great intangibles, great energy, kind of like Fareed in that sense, where he gives you that pump up, that energy to the team, and really, finally makes the Pepsi Center loud, which is a very rare occurrence because that never fucking happens because there's no one fucking there at the Pepsi Center. Solid player, non-guaranteed contract, got him on the cheap. That was great. So yeah, like Jakar Sampson. Don't really know if he's going to stay next season. Or we could just throw him into like a trade, to another team, whatever, and he could be a solid pickup for a team. But yeah, I like Jakar Sampson. He's cool. Next player, Axel Toupon. And people were wondering, like, why the fuck did they sign this guy, Axel Toupon? Like, what was the point? Do people not realize, like, the biggest, like, problem for the Denver Nuggets for a while now has been shooting? So, obviously, like once again, this is a great move from Tim Connolly. Get a player on the cheap like Jakar Sampson, non-guaranteed contract, great shooter. I think throughout the season, I was kind of sheepish on, Axel Toupon coming in because I'd seen highlights, and even throughout the season, I saw it as well. He's very timid. He's not very aggressive. Like sometimes you saw him do it, but a lot of the times throughout the season, you didn't see him be aggressive. He just doesn't seem like one of those guys that likes contacts, and he really does like skirting the perimeters and shooting shots and shit like that. He didn't exactly light it up from the perimeter or from the mid range, point in this season, but he looks like a solid shooter, and if he stays along it, to be honest, I would be okay if we let him go and we got a better shooter on the market, because there is quite a few good shooters, coming in this draft and on the free agent market coming up, in my opinion. So we could get one of them, but Axel Toupon is young, so that's the thing that's going for him, and I think there's a lot of improvement for him to come, even though he is kind of reaching those prime years. I think he's like 24, 25 now, so he's young-ish, but not completely young. But yeah, Jameer Nelson, I don't understand. Like, I'm genuinely curious why so many of you guys hate on Jameer Nelson. I don't understand. I just don't, like, didn't he do well? Like, I remember the first half of the season, like, everyone was like, oh, he's better than Moutier, even though Moutier is like fucking 15, 14, 13 years younger than fucking Jameer Nelson. It's like people saying, oh, Jameer Nelson is the truth, he should be starting and he's a great player, and then as soon as I think it's just the fact that Augustine came in, and even though Nelson was great, obviously Augustine played better, and then all of a sudden people resorted to calling Jameer Nelson shit. He should be traded or whatever. Like they're basically like kicking him while he was down, because obviously he had that wrist injury and he was out for a couple of weeks. And people were just shitting on him. I'm pretty sure just because Augustine was playing better, people were like, we should trade him and stuff like that. But the fact that, well, not a fact, but the high possibility that Augustine is now going to go somewhere else and get that cash, which I can't blame him for, on the free agent market as a backup point guard. who else do we really have to really rely on? Jimmy Nelson, and he did great in the first half of the season before he got injured. So why would you really trade him? He's like the only person we had. And we signed him to what did we sign him to? Like, I think it was like half decent. Probably his worth, especially with the cap going up. I think it was like 3 years, 12 million or some shit. I could be completely wrong, but I don't really know, man. But yeah, Jimmy Nelson, I like him. I really do. He's getting older, but he doesn't really seem to be slowing down too much. And he's a backup. Like for me, when it comes to age and you're on the bench, it doesn't really matter as much as compared to the starting lineup. Like, for example, okay, I'll finish off with Jimmy Nelson real quick, then I'll talk about Darrell. Jimmy Nelson, great backup. I think we should keep him because Augustine's going to go anyway. So let's just, I mean, it'd be great. Or it's still a possibility that Augustine could stay, but not looking too good right now. So I'm really satisfied with what Jimmy has done right now. And like I said, going into Darrell Arthur, really like him. Like, I don't know what it was, and I will admit this. For some reason, I thought he was a bad defender. Like, I saw like a couple of bad examples, and I was like, this dude's a fucking shit defender. So obviously I wasn't watching enough because soon enough I found out this dude is a fucking great defender. So yeah, Darrell Arthur, like I said, great defense. We should keep this guy. He's young enough. Like I said, when it comes to being on the bench and your age, doesn't really matter as much. So he's like 27, I think turning 28 this year or next year. So young enough, you know what I mean? I think in his early 30s, he'll be good enough as a backup. Because especially he's a backup power forward. So yeah, I'm cool with Darrell Arthur. I really liked what he did this season. I will admit, like I said, I did give him some shit at certain points in the season, but he's good enough for now. I really do like Darrell. Who else before we go into, of course, the main man? What's it called? Will Barton. Who else is there to talk about? Mike Miller. Not really going to talk about him too much. Obviously on the court, his on-court production, next to nothing. I think he probably made like 4 or 5 threes all season, and that's like what he was known for. In his prime, like, Mike Miller was probably like the best rebounding small forward in the game. Like, he was just a beast. He was a great defender. He still is a pretty darn good defender, but obviously past his prime. I say we should keep him, and he's been great. Obviously, like I said, on-court production, next to nothing, but off-court production, like his veteran leadership, like probably in previous years, I did kind of undervalue it a little bit. I didn't really look at it too much, but now I really believe that Mike Miller can be great for the young players on this roster that we have, like the Moutiers, the Gary Harrises and stuff like that, in terms of, you know, teaching them how to shoot. And yeah, I really like Mike Miller, man. So I think he's worth keeping for another season, especially because I think he's on like the veterans minimum, so he's earning jack shit, or subjectively, because he's still earning like fucking 6 figures for being a fucking bench warmer. But also, you know, don't take anything away. That's not a diss to him at all. I love Mike Miller a lot. You know, teaching the young players, veteran leadership. I think he's worth keeping for another season. I really like Mike Miller as that kind of veteran presence off the bench. Actually, I'll talk about Will Barton first. We'll keep Fareed to the end because I'm just done with Fareed. I'm sorry about that, but yeah, Will Barton, obviously damn near 6th man of the year. Obviously, first half of the year he just absolutely killed it. Pretty much runaway 6th man of the year first half of the season. Second half he did kind of drop off his production a little bit, but still very effective. Absolute bargain, man. I mean, I think we like traded Aaron Afwalo, and we ended up getting pick 19 and Will Barton, and Aaron Afwalo, who I think is now in New York after being traded from Portland. He's done good from what I've seen, but hasn't really compared to Will Barton in his production. So we end up getting Will Barton, who's been way better, and we get pick 19. That is a fucking bargain. And Will Barton's on a pretty good contract right now, not really earning too much. And I really think we should keep him. He's young-ish, like I said, age doesn't really matter as much when you're coming off the bench. He's born in 91, I think it is, so he's turning 25 this year, I think. So young enough. Obviously, damn near 6th man of the year. There was no way he was going to win most improved. I was thinking when I thought about it at first, like maybe he really could win most improved. He was probably going to come second or some shit, but then I saw, of course, CJ McCollum. No fucking way he was going to beat CJ McCollum for most improved. But he ended up coming like 4th, I think it was, which, whatever. Will Barton, great player, 6th man off the bench. Really think we should sign him to a good contract. Nowadays, kind of like the standard, with the cap coming in, it'll probably change a little bit, but kind of the standard for that, you know, that very productive 2 or 3 slasher, bench player or starter coming off the bench, if that makes sense, probably not. The usual contract for those type of players is kind of like the 4 years, 32 million, which I think to Barton is kind of suited. I think I really do believe we should re-sign him, and he deserves to get paid to come off the bench. Which, you know, I don't know, 4 years, 32, or even like I think he should get like 4 years, 40 million. Does sound a little bit much for a bench player, but considering the cap is going up, it's kind of a bargain, especially because like if, for example, Gary gets injured, Will Barton can definitely step in. He can also play the 3 as well. He's a great rebounder. He can even play the 1 sometimes. He's a pretty good ball handler. He's got great crossover and great dribbling skills and shit like that. So I really like Will. So I really hope we don't let him go. I have faith in Tim to give him a solid contract. Maybe like the 4 years, 40 million. I think he deserves to get paid that amount. Even if it is off the bench, I really do think he deserves to get paid. So yeah, really love Will Barton, and I hope he gets re-signed to a pretty decent contract to stay in the Nuggets. So last player on the bench, and I'm pretty sure there's no other players I forgot to talk about. I don't really care. Right now, I'm going to talk about Kenneth Faried. Now, I'm done. I'm just done with Kenneth Faried. I don't hate him at all. He's probably a nice guy. So he's a pretty darn good player. He's a really good player. He's played some really good games this season, but with the Denver Nuggets, he just doesn't fit. He just doesn't fit anymore. Throughout the season, there was multiple occasions where I just got the vibe. I mean, maybe it was through interviews. I don't know, just kind of reading between the lines. It just seems like Michael Malone and Kenneth Faried just don't match. Okay, they're not going to work out. Ever since the run and gun offense after George Karl left has been diminished in the Mile High City. I mean, it's funny because Michael Malone literally, I remember when they first drafted Moutier and he first got the job as the coach of the Denver Nuggets, he said, we're going to bring back, the fast offense and shit and make use of, the altitude in Denver, Colorado. We're going to do all that shit. We're going to bring it back. We're going to bring back the run and gun. And he's done the complete opposite. It was probably worse with Brian Shaw because he just slowed shit down completely. Whereas Michael a little bit faster, but not quite the run and gun pace that George Karl had, obviously. But all of this has kind of been a problem for Faried because it just doesn't fit his game. Because I remember when Faried was fit and firing, he was going hard in the running on offense. He was an absolute beast because that's the player he is. He's more so an energy guy. He loves getting offensive rebounds. That's just the type of player he is, and it just doesn't fit in the scheme of Michael Malone anymore. And I just don't think they fit. Michael Malone doesn't like Faried. Faried doesn't like Michael Malone. It's as simple as that. So I just think he needs to be traded. And another thing, once again, I go back to it. How old is Faried? Faried is 26 years old, which is not old. And if Faried, let's put it this way: if Faried was on a decent, if he was 4 years, 12 million coming off the bench, and he was okay with coming off the bench, he was okay being a bench player, and just seeing the season, he didn't like coming off the bench on a couple of occasions. If he was on that type of contract, and he was willing to come off the bench, 100% keep him. That would be an absolute steal. But you have to realize like I said, the offense we're playing right now, he doesn't seem connected to what Michael Malone is trying to do right now. We don't have a run and gun offense. He's not a great defender. Yeah, of course, people always look at, oh my god, the chase down blocks and shit like that. He's a great defender, but he's not a great defender. He still hasn't learned. And from the day he entered the league to now, he still hasn't learned a consistent jump shot. And a lot of people say he's actually 6'8" without shoes, but I'm 6'5" and without shoes. So I'm 6'5" without shoes. With shoes, I'm probably 6'6" or 6'7". Okay, so that's a huge fucking difference. I think it's probably more realistic to say that Faried is 6'7" without shoes. So he's clearly undersized for a power forward, and that wasn't really so much of a problem in the early years when he was playing in the run and gun offense, and he could kind of overtake players with his energy and stuff like that. But now that he's playing in a kind of a little bit more of a slow down offense in this Denver Nuggets team, just doesn't fit him. So, and the fact that he can't, I mean, it looks like he's trying, but he just hasn't learned, he's never learned a consistent jump shot. And when you're that size and you don't have an offensive repertoire besides, excluding shooting, if you don't have, and you're not a good defender either, you just have to add extra things to your game. You just have to, otherwise you're fucked. You know what I mean? And you just don't deserve to start. You can come off the bench, which would be fine, but Faried, he just doesn't want to come off the bench, it seems, and he just thinks he's a starter. But like I said, you need to learn to shoot consistently. Hasn't done that to this day. Still hasn't learned how to shoot. And it just, look, the bottom line is he just doesn't suit Denver anymore, okay? A lot of you guys are very realistic and know that he just doesn't fit the scheme in Denver anymore. He needs to get traded. He needs to be shipped out. And I applaud a lot of you who are, optimistic about him. Faried's he's a good player and stuff. He is a good player. He's not a bad player. He's a great player. He's played some pretty darn good games this season and has over the years. He's a pretty great player, but the fact that he has value, he probably doesn't want to come off the bench. He's on a pretty bad contract considering his production. What is it, 4 years, 50 million?
when you're on that type of contract, man, even with the cap, that's a pretty solid contract for his production. When you're on that type of contract, you better be producing a lot more than what he is right now. So yeah, Freed needs to go. That's just my opinion. A lot of you are optimistic about him, not me. He needs to go. Fareed, bye bye. Like, I love Fareed, but he needs to go, man. He just needs to go. So yeah, that's pretty much it, man. Is there anything else to talk about? Any other players I missed? I don't think I did. I think I talked about every single player on the roster. Anyone else? I don't really know. Yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this damn near 1 hour video. Don't know if you guys watched it or if you didn't, that's fine. If you watched at least like some, like 5-10 minutes, that's cool. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I will actually make another one for those who are interested in regards to the draft specifically, and all the trades and draft scenarios and stuff like that we can make. Because dude, I'm fucking excited like a motherfucker for the draft. And I actually have a day off on the draft, so fucking can't wait. So yeah, look forward to that if you guys actually give a shit. So yeah, that's it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Love my Denver Nuggets, and I'll be seeing you guys later. Peace.